the Rashidun Caliphate. In 632 CE, the Muslim community faced a leadership crisis after the death of the Prophet Muhammad. 29 years later, Muslim rulers governed Arabia, Syria, Palestine, Egypt, Iraq, and most of the former Persian Empire. How did that transformation happen so quickly? How was the new empire governed? And why did its first civil war nearly tear it apart? Begin in Western Arabia in 632 CE. Mecca and Medina lay on the Arabian Peninsula, between the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf. By then, Muhammad was not only the founder of Islam, but also the leader of the Ummah, the growing Muslim community, and of a state centered on Medina. Beyond Arabia stood two much older powers, the Byzantine Empire to the northwest and the Sasanian Persian Empire to the northeast. The next 3 decades would redraw that entire political map. Muhammad died in 632 CE, and Muslims believed that prophethood ended with him. Nobody could simply become the next prophet. Government, however, could not stop. Someone still had to direct armies, resolve disputes, appoint governors, collect revenue, conduct diplomacy, and hold together alliances among tribes. That leader came to be called the Caliph, from the Arabic Khalifa, meaning a successor. In this setting, the Caliph succeeded Muhammad's political leadership of the Muslim community. The territory governed by a Caliph is called a Caliphate. Muhammad left no surviving adult son who could simply inherit his position, and there was no universally accepted rule for choosing a successor. Some Muslims emphasized Muhammad's closest companions and selection by leading members of the community. Others believed leadership belonged most strongly within Muhammad's family. At a meeting in Medina called the Saqafa of the Banu Sa'ida, intense discussion ended with Abu Bakr, an early follower and close companion of Muhammad, being recognized as Caliph. That urgent decision solved the immediate crisis but did not erase disagreement. The word Rashidun means roughly rightly guided, and it is especially a Sunni description. Sunni tradition later grouped Abu Bakr with the next 3 caliphs, Umar, Uthman, and Ali, as the 4 legitimate rightly guided caliphs. Shia Muslims understand succession differently. They hold that Ali ibn Abi Talib, Muhammad's cousin, son-in-law, and husband of Fatima, had the strongest or divinely designated claim and became the first imam. Fully developed Sunni and Shia communities did not suddenly appear in finished form in 632, but the dispute over rightful leadership became one of their deepest historical roots. Abu Bakr ruled for only about 2 years, from 632 to 634 CE. His first problem was not conquering foreign empires. It was preventing the Muslim state from breaking apart. After Muhammad's death, Arabian tribes challenged Medina in different ways. Some refused to continue paying zakat, the required contribution linked to the Muslim community. Some attempted to end political agreements with Medina. Others followed rival prophetic figures. If these movements succeeded, Muhammad's political alliance across Arabia could have collapsed almost immediately after his death. The resulting conflicts are called the Ridda Wars. Ridda is often translated as apostasy, but that label can make the crisis sound simpler than it was. Different groups had different motives. Personal belief, loyalty to Medina, tribal independence, tax obligations, political authority, and the claims of rival prophets were mixed together. Abu Bakr's government treated the rebellions as a threat to the unity of the Ummah and the state. By defeating them, Medina established that Muhammad's death did not automatically cancel the community's political and financial obligations. One of the hardest Ridda struggles occurred in the Yamama region of Central Arabia against Musaylima, the most famous rival prophetic leader. Musaylima's forces were defeated, and he was killed. Islamic tradition remembers the battle for another reason. A significant number of Muslims who had memorized Quranic revelations were said to have died. Concern that more knowledge could be lost helped inspire an early collection of Quranic material during Abu Bakr's reign. That was not yet the later standard text associated with Uthman, but it made preservation an urgent state concern. By about 633 CE, Abu Bakr's government had brought Arabia firmly back under Medina's authority. The political crisis had become a military victory, and the mobilized armies did not simply dissolve. Forces began moving beyond the peninsula. Khalid ibn al-Walid led campaigns into Sasanian-controlled Iraq, while other Muslim armies advanced toward Byzantine Syria. Abu Bakr died in 634, before the greatest conquests unfolded. He had survived the succession crisis, reunited Arabia, and begun the outward campaigns. But why could those armies now advance against two enormous empires? The answer begins with the condition of the Caliphate's two powerful neighbors. The Byzantine Empire, the eastern continuation of Rome, controlled Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. The Sasanian Persian Empire controlled Iran and much of Iraq. They had just spent 26 years fighting one another from 602 to 628 CE. War drained treasuries, killed soldiers, damaged provinces, and disrupted government. Persia then suffered severe internal instability and rapid changes of rulers. The old empires still fought fiercely, so their exhaustion helps explain the timing, not every Muslim victory by itself. Before his death, Abu Bakr supported Umar ibn al-Khattab as the next caliph. Umar ruled from 634 to 644 CE. In only 10 years, the caliphate changed from an Arabian power into a vast empire. Expansion moved on two connected fronts, west and northwest against Byzantium, and northeast against Sasanian Persia. Umar did not personally fight every battle or control every detail from Medina. Commanders and provincial forces mattered enormously. Still, his reign provided the leadership, revenue system, appointments, and political direction that turned victories into durable territorial rule. Near the Yarmouk River, close to today's borders of Syria and Jordan, Muslim forces met a major Byzantine army in 636 CE. Their victory at the Battle of Yarmouk became one of the decisive events in Middle Eastern history. Byzantium did not collapse, it survived for centuries, but its ability to recover Syria was badly damaged. Muslim control spread across much of Greater Syria, a historical region including modern Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, and the Palestinian territories. A Roman-ruled heartland had shifted into the new caliphate with astonishing speed. Jerusalem was already sacred to Jews and Christians, and had also become sacred to Muslims. After the Byzantine defeat in the region, the city surrendered to Muslim authority around 637 or 638 CE. Traditional accounts often place Umar himself at the city's surrender in 638. Whatever the exact ceremonial details, the political result is clear. One of the world's most important religious cities now belonged to the caliphate. The change did not make Jerusalem's Jewish and Christian significance disappear. Instead, the city became a shared and often contested center in later Islamic, Christian, and Jewish history. At nearly the same time as Yarmouk, Muslim armies fought the Sasanians in Iraq. The major early breakthrough came at Al-Qadisiyah, usually dated to 636 or 637 CE. A Muslim victory opened the wealthy Mesopotamian plain, roughly modern Iraq, and the route toward the Sasanian capital. But one battle did not instantly erase the Persian Empire. Sasanian forces, regional rulers, and local communities continued resisting for years. Qadisiyah is best remembered as the breach in Persia's western defenses, not as a magical moment when every province immediately surrendered. The Sasanian capital, Ctesiphon, stood on the Tigris River near modern Baghdad. After defeats in Iraq, the Persian court and army abandoned the city, and Muslim forces captured it around 637 CE. For soldiers who had recently fought to reunite Arabia, entering one of the ancient world's great imperial capitals was extraordinary. They encountered palaces, treasuries, and the administrative center of a 400-year-old dynasty. Capturing Ctesiphon gave the caliphate wealth and prestige. But the Sasanian king Yazdijerd III escaped east, so the war continued across Iran. Persian forces tried to stop the eastward advance at Nahavand in western Iran around 642 CE. The Muslim victory severely weakened coordinated Sasanian resistance, though conquest still unfolded region by region. Yazdijerd III continued fleeing east through Iran while local forces fought on. He was killed in 651 during Uthman's reign. His death symbolized the end of the Sasanian monarchy, which had ruled Persia since 224 CE. An imperial system more than 4 centuries old had ended, even though Persian society, language, elites, and traditions did not vanish with its dynasty. Egypt was one of Byzantium's richest provinces. Around the end of 639 or beginning of 640, A Muslim army led by Amr ibn al-As entered with perhaps only 3,500 to 4,000 soldiers before reinforcements arrived. The fortress called Babylon, near modern Cairo, fell in 641. Alexandria, Egypt's great Mediterranean capital, surrendered under an agreement finalized in 641 or 642. Losing Egypt deprived Byzantium of a populous agricultural province and major tax revenues. For the Caliphate, it added wealth, grain, cities, ports, and a new frontier facing the Mediterranean. Winning battles was only the first problem. Medina now claimed authority over Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Arabia, and much of Persia, regions with different languages, religions, laws, currencies, and tax systems. The Caliphate was not a modern country with identical ministries and procedures everywhere. Governors ruled provinces, commanders held great influence, and local officials often continued collecting taxes and maintaining records. Early Muslim rulers reused Byzantine and Persian practices because experienced administrators already knew how their regions worked. The ruler at the top could change much faster than everyday life below. Umar's government established major garrison settlements called Amsar. Instead of scattering the conquering soldiers through every village, it concentrated troops and their families in planned military centers. Kufa and Basra became key bases in Iraq. Fustat, founded after Egypt's conquest around 641, later formed part of the urban area that grew into modern Cairo. Each garrison town was part military base, part government center, part new city, and part settlement colony. These places helped commanders mobilize armies while limiting immediate disruption to existing rural communities. Umar is also associated with establishing a diwan, a government register and administrative bureau. It tracked people entitled to state stipends, especially soldiers and members of the conquering community and their households. Conquest brought large revenues into state hands, but that wealth had to be counted, assigned, and distributed. Paperwork may sound less dramatic than Yarmouk or Qadisiyah, yet it was just as necessary. An army that is not paid eventually stops obeying. The Diwan helped tie the conquering community and its military establishment financially to the Caliphate. The Caliphate's political expansion was extremely fast, but religious conversion was much slower. When Muslim armies entered Syria or Egypt, most inhabitants did not become Muslim the next day. Large Christian communities continued across Syria, Palestine, Iraq, and Egypt. Jewish communities remained, and Zoroastrianism continued to shape Persian life. A farmer might still speak Coptic or Greek, attend a church, and deal with familiar local leaders while paying taxes to a new Muslim government. In many regions, a Muslim majority emerged only after generations or even centuries. Many cities entered Muslim rule through negotiated surrender rather than total destruction. Agreements commonly required political submission and taxes, while allowing religious communities to maintain worship and communal institutions. Christians and Jews were recognized as people of the book, while Zoroastrians received protected status in practice in Persian lands. Non-Muslims came to pay taxes including jizya, commonly a personal tax, and kharaj on land, while Muslims had obligations such as zakat. Arrangements varied and developed over time. This was neither universal forced conversion nor modern legal equality. Protected communities lived under a Muslim ruling elite and unequal law. There was no single magical reason for the expansion. Byzantium and Persia were exhausted by war, and Persia was politically unstable. The Muslim state had united many Arabian tribes inside a larger military and political system. Armies were mobile. Commanders such as Khalid ibn al-Walid and Amr ibn al-As were experienced, and victories brought land, status, revenue, and booty that encouraged participation. Commanders often negotiated surrender, while governments reused existing officials and taxes. Religious commitment mattered, but reducing everything to zeal or to weak enemies misses the combined power of strategy, organization, incentives, diplomacy, and timing. In 644 CE, Umar was attacked in Medina by Abu Lullah, a Persian slave, and died from his wounds. Leadership again became urgent. Umar did not appoint his son. Instead, he created a small council of prominent Muslims to choose the next caliph, and the council selected Uthman ibn Affan. Notice the changing methods. Abu Bakr emerged from the crisis at Saqafa. Abu Bakr designated Umar. Umar used a council. Later, Ali would be acclaimed during another emergency. The caliphate still had no single constitutional procedure, accepted for every succession. Uthman ibn Affan ruled for 12 years, from 644 to 656 CE. He belonged to the influential Umayyad clan of the Quraysh tribe of Mecca. His reign had two very different halves. During the first, armies pushed farther into Iran, North Africa, and neighboring frontiers, while the state developed sea power. During the second, arguments over governors, wealth, land, relatives, and legitimate authority became increasingly dangerous. Uthman inherited an empire growing faster than its political customs could stabilize. An expansion multiplied the rewards that powerful groups now competed to control. Campaigns continued deeper into Iran during Uthman's reign. Muslim power expanded toward Khorasan, a vast northeastern region covering parts of modern Iran, Afghanistan, and Central Asia. In 651, the fugitive Sasanian ruler Yazdijerd III was killed. His death removed the last reigning Sasanian claimant around whom an imperial restoration might be organized. Yet conquest was still uneven, and local resistance continued in various places. The disappearance of a dynasty did not mean that Persian culture disappeared. Iranian societies gradually became part of the Islamic world and would later transform it politically, intellectually, and culturally. The Quran had been recited, memorized, and written down since Muhammad's lifetime. As Muslim communities spread thousands of kilometers apart, differences in recitation and written copies could produce disputes. Islamic tradition says Uthman appointed a committee to prepare a standardized text. Official copies were sent to major centers such as Medina, Mecca, Kufa, Basra, and Damascus, while competing copies were withdrawn or destroyed. Modern scholars debate details of early transmission, but early manuscripts strongly support taking a standard Quranic consonantal text from around 650 or earlier very seriously. Uthman's decision had consequences lasting more than 13 centuries. The earliest conquests were mainly land campaigns, but Byzantium remained a major naval power. Under Uthman, the governors of Syria and Egypt developed Muslim fleets by drawing on the harbors, shipbuilders, sailors, and maritime knowledge of conquered coastal populations. The Syrian governor was Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, a political organizer who would soon become central to the civil war. Muslim ships attacked Cyprus beginning around 649 CE. The Caliphate was no longer only an Arabian land power. It was learning to compete across the eastern Mediterranean, without yet matching Byzantium everywhere at sea. In 655 CE, a Muslim fleet met a Byzantine fleet commanded by Emperor Constans II near the coast of Asia Minor. The Muslim victory became known as the Battle of the Masts, or Dihat al-Sawari. Only 2 decades after the first campaigns into Syria, the Caliphate could now defeat Byzantium at sea. The victory demonstrated impressive adaptation, but it came at a dangerous moment. Externally, Uthman's state appeared powerful enough to challenge the Roman emperor on the Mediterranean. Internally, opposition to Uthman's government was moving toward rebellion. Uthman's critics accused him of nepotism, favoring relatives and members of his Umayyad clan in important offices. Supporters answered that he appointed capable people he trusted. Provincial governors, conquered lands, state revenues, treatment of opponents, and the political influence of Medina's older elite all became disputed. The sources preserve sharply positive and deeply critical portrayals, so historians must avoid treating every accusation or defense as neutral fact. The larger pressure is unmistakable. A state that had been mostly Arabian in 632 now ruled millions of people, and its wealth created fierce competition over who would govern and benefit. Opposition became especially strong among groups connected with the garrison centers of Egypt, Kufa, and Basra. Rebels traveled to Medina and besieged Uthman in his home. In 656 CE, they entered the house and killed him. The crisis crossed a terrifying boundary. A caliph had been murdered by people from within the Muslim community itself. 3 questions now collided. Who was responsible? Who had the authority to punish the killers? And who should rule the empire? The answers triggered the first fitna, the first great Muslim civil war. After Uthman's death, Ali ibn Abi Talib became the 4th caliph. Ali was Muhammad's cousin, an early follower of Islam, the husband of Muhammad's daughter Fatima, and the father of Hassan and Hussein. Sunni Muslims deeply honor him as the fourth rightly guided caliph. Shia Muslims regard him as the rightful successor and first imam. Yet Ali did not receive a peaceful state. Rebels remained entangled with armies and politics. Prominent Muslims demanded justice for Uthman, and the powerful governor of Syria refused full recognition. Ali inherited an empire already sliding into civil war. Many prominent Muslims demanded that Uthman's killers be punished immediately. Later sources disagree about alignments and motives, but Ali's practical dilemma is clear. Armed rebel groups remained powerful within the political and military crisis around his government. Trying to punish them at once could destroy his fragile authority before it was established. Ali therefore prioritized restoring control, while opponents treated delay as a failure to deliver justice. Among them were Aisha, Muhammad's widow, and the prominent companions Talha and Zubair. Their mobilization led to the first major battle between Muslim forces. Ali's army met the forces associated with Aisha, Talha, and Zubair near Basra in 656. The conflict became known as the Battle of the Camel because Aisha was present in a litter mounted on a camel, around which fighting concentrated. Ali's forces won. Talha and Zubair died. Aisha survived and later returned to Medina, withdrawing from direct military politics. The battle's meaning was devastating. People closely connected to Muhammad stood on opposing sides only 24 years after his death. Political disagreement had become open warfare inside the Ummah. After the Battle of the Camel, Ali based his government in Kufa, Iraq. Medina had been the caliphate's political center, but the empire's balance of power had shifted. Arabia remained Islam's religious heartland, home to Mecca and Medina. Yet Iraq and Syria now contained large armies, rich provinces, major tax revenues, and rival political networks. Moving to Kufa placed Ali closer to his Iraqi supporters and the front against Syria. Because conquest had made provincial armies decisive, Ali's move also placed him opposite a rival power base in Syria. Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan had governed Syria and built a disciplined political and military base there. He was also related to Uthman through the Umayyad clan. Muawiyah withheld the Pledge of Allegiance to Ali while demanding punishment for Uthman's killers. That demand carried moral force for Uthman's supporters, but it also strengthened Muawiyah's challenge to the caliph. Syria's army remained loyal to its governor, while Ali depended heavily on Iraq. The dispute was therefore about justice, succession, and control of two powerful provincial blocs at the same time. Ali's and Muawiyah's armies confronted one another at Siffin near the Euphrates River in 657 CE. This was not a battle between Muslims and a foreign empire. Both sides were Muslim, and both claimed to defend justice. Ali asserted the authority of the recognized caliph. Muawiyah's coalition emphasized vengeance and accountability for Uthman's murder. Fighting ended without a decisive political settlement, and the sides accepted arbitration. Because Ali accepted human negotiators, some supporters concluded that he had surrendered a judgment that belonged to God. Some of Ali's supporters condemned arbitration with the slogan that judgment belongs to God. They separated from his camp and became associated with the Kharijites, a name linked to those who go out or secede. Early Kharijites developed a strict view of legitimacy. Grave wrongdoing, in their view, could disqualify a leader, and neither Ali nor Muawiyah now met the standard. The civil war was no longer a two-sided conflict. Ali faced Muawiyah's powerful Syrian coalition and former allies in Iraq, who accused both major leaders of abandoning true judgment. Relations between Ali and the Kharijites worsened, especially after militants were accused of killing civilians. Ali's army fought them at Nahrawan in 658 CE and won a crushing victory. Militarily, the battle removed an immediate threat. Politically, it left deep resentment and did not eliminate Kharijite ideas or networks. Ali had spent strength fighting former supporters, while Muawiyah's position in Syria remained secure. The first fitna had created a pattern that would recur in history. Suppressing a breakaway faction could defeat an army without resolving the grievances that produced it. In 661 CE, Ali was attacked at Kufa by Abd al-Rahman ibn Muljam, a Kharijite, and died from his wounds. The fourth Rashidun Caliph was dead. The pattern is striking. Abu Bakr died naturally, but Umar, Uthman, and Ali were all assassinated. 3 of the first 4 caliphs died violently. Their deaths reveal how dangerous leadership had become as the state expanded faster than accepted rules of succession and accountability could develop. The caliphate had conquered empires abroad, but could not prevent repeated political murder at its center. After Ali's death, many supporters in Iraq recognized his son Hassan ibn Ali as caliph. Muawiyah remained stronger in Syria and commanded a more stable military base. Rather than continue a destructive war, Hassan ceded political authority to Muawiyah under an agreement in 661. Later sources report its exact terms differently. The agreement ended the first fitna and opened the Umayyad Caliphate centered on Damascus. Sunni accounts often remember 661 as a year of restored unity. Shia traditions honor Hassan as the second imam and interpret his agreement within the continuing struggle over the rights of Muhammad's family. In 632, Muhammad had just died and Medina's alliances across Arabia appeared ready to fragment. By 661, Muslim rulers controlled Arabia, Syria, Palestine, Egypt, Iraq, Persia, and neighboring territories. The Sasanian monarchy had disappeared. Byzantium survived, but it had lost Syria, Palestine, and Egypt, some of its richest and most historic provinces. 3 decades transformed a mainly Arabian political community into one of the great imperial powers of world history. Yet the same expansion also shifted power toward armies and provinces whose rivalries helped produce civil war. The Rashidun period mattered far beyond conquest. It established the caliphate, created garrison cities and military registers, and adapted Byzantine and Persian administration. Uthman's standardization gave the expanding community a common Quranic textual basis. Yet no stable succession rule emerged, and disputes over Ali, Uthman, justice, family, and legitimate leadership shaped later Sunni and Shia thought. That memory deepened after Ali's son Hussein was killed at Karbala in 680 during Umayyad rule. Historians know the broad sequence well, but treat exact speeches, troop numbers, and motives from later accounts with caution. Memory lock. In 632, Muhammad died and Abu Bakr became caliph. The Ridda Wars kept Arabia under Medina. Under Umar, victories at Yarmouk and Qadisiyah opened Byzantine and Sasanian lands, while Egypt and Persia followed. Governors, garrison towns, taxes, and the Diwan turned conquest into government. Under Uthman, expansion continued. The Quranic text was standardized, and opposition grew until his murder in 656. Ali's caliphate brought the Camel, Siffin, the Kharijites, and Nahrawan. Ali was killed in 661, Hassan yielded to Muawiyah, and Umayyad rule began. Knowledge check. What is a caliph and what is a caliph not? Think about it. The answer is, a caliph is a successor to Muhammad's political leadership of the Muslim community, not a new prophet. Knowledge check. Why did Abu Bakr fight the Ridda Wars? Think about it. The answer is, to keep Arabia's tribes, taxes, political agreements, and Muslim community under Medina's authority after Muhammad's death. Knowledge check. What did Yarmouk and Qadisiyah open? Think about it. The answer is, Yarmouk opened Byzantine Syria, Qadisiyah opened Sasanian Iraq and the road towards Ctesiphon. Knowledge check. Did conquest make everyone Muslim immediately? Think about it. The answer is, no. Muslim political rule spread quickly, but conversion often took generations or centuries. Knowledge check. What were Uthman's greatest legacy and deepest crisis? Think about it. The answer is, he oversaw Quranic standardization, but opposition over power and government ended with his murder in 656. Knowledge check. How did the first fitna end the Rashidun era? Think about it. The answer is, Ali fought the Camel, Siffin, and Nahrawan, was assassinated in 661, and Hassan yielded political rule to Muawiyah.